Hello dear football fans, it is with great pleasure that we bring you the best of African and world football. This is, of course, Football Planet. A warm welcome to you, and right away, the headlines. On the program, it's a new season in African football for African Cup of Nations. African football is now in the midst of major changes. We will talk about this later with Togo's Claude Leroy and also the communication manager of the Cameroonian Ministry of Sports, Gabriel Nlonga. Also to come, the CHAN 2018. We now know the countries that have qualified for the next stage of the playoffs, and we'll present you all the results and all of the second qualifying round. We will also talk about the latest from the transfer market and the fate of Brazilian sensation Neymar. Will Neymar fly the colours of Paris Saint-Germain, PSG? Keep it locked on the program to find out more on this and other stories. Welcome to Football Planet. In what has been keenly deliberated for several years, the African Cup of Nations, often staged in January with 16 teams, will now become a thing of the past. Instead, the competition will now be held in June, July, and with 24 nations, with the next edition to be staged in Cameroon. This is one of the flagship reforms adopted by the Confederation of African Football, CAF, over the weekend in Rabat, Morocco. Before talking with Claude Leroy, here are the details of the African Football Revolution with Elvis Bo and Ruth Lago.
The Executive Committee of Africa's football governing body, CAF, has assembled resolutions of the African Football Symposium held in Rabat, Morocco between the 18th and 19th of July. Top on the resolution is the increase in the number of AFCON teams to 24 starting 2019, with an inspection team to visit Cameroon in September. The competition will continue to be played every 2 years in odd-number years and exclusively on the African continent and with African teams. Concerning inter-club competitions, the committee decided to maintain the current format but promised to change the timetable of inter-club competitions, which will start in August and end in May of the following year. CAF will henceforth increase allowances paid to referees and lay emphasis on the age and health of players in order to prevent frequent deaths from heart attacks. The committee handed over the organization of the Africa Cup of Nations in beach soccer to Egypt, while CAF is open to receive files of countries interested in the organization of the 2019 Under-23 Africa Cup of Nations.
And yes, just before the reports that I was telling you about, the African Cup of Nations has undergone a reform in its organization. Joining us now to talk about this development is none other than Claude Leroy, coach of the national team of Togo. Welcome, Mr. Leroy. To begin with, why does Africa need to reform its footballing competition CAN?
Il ne faut pas être trop conservateur dans le football, et que le football évolue, il faut que les gens évoluent.
Because you do not have to be conservative in football. Football is changing. It's evolving. There are a lot of things to change, not just for the AFCON, but for all competitions. For instance, 23 players can sit on the bench. All the staff can sit on the bench. If there are 24 teams, then why not? I just hope that this is not being done so that Cameroon can be stripped of their hosting rights. I only hope that these choices have been dictated by sporting concerns. Again, about the frequency of AFCON being staged every 2 years, I think it's good because the more the tournaments, the more stadiums are built, more training grounds and more hotels. And then in June, it suits me very well because all the players will be much more available. There'll be no conflict with clubs. As for the climatic conditions, Southern African can be cold in June. In January, the weather can be harsh in Algeria or Tunisia. So I think that's not a big problem. The choice of the month for AFCON was a good choice for me. These are things that seem coherent to me.
Is it really a good idea to expand the competition to 24 teams?
Yes, because we will also increase the number of teams at the World Cup. More and more teams will participate. Countries will be able to organize themselves well. Africa will grow in organization, seriousness, methodology, and also in respect to institutions and budgets. But it does not bother me that out of 53 nations, that there are going to be 24 participating. There will still be 29 others will be out of the competition, more than half. It was 8 at first, then 12, then it went up to 16. Now we'll have 24. The more people are involved, the better the quality of the AFCON.
But precisely, Coach, is there not a risk of CAN losing quality?
I do not think so. You can find 24 quality teams. Look, do some calculations. Take North Africa, for instance. You have Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, and Libya. There's quality football there. In West Africa, you have plethora of high-quality teams like Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Benin, and the Cape Verde Islands. After you go to the Central Africa, there is also great quality teams there. Same thing in East Africa. So we quickly arrive at 24 teams that could all present quality show.
Thank you very much, Claude Leroy, coach of the national team of Togo. He has also coached Senegal, Congo, and Cameroon. Cameroon, scheduled host of the next CAN in 2019, will be the first to host this new CAN. But there is now a certain turn that raises some questions as to the infrastructure on ground for a competition with 24 teams. We're now joined by the head of communication cell of the Cameroonian Ministry of Sports, Gabriel Nlonga. Thank you for responding to our call, Mr. Nlonga. So the first question here is there any reason to worry?
It should be noted that Cameroon, in preparing for the female CAN and in preparation for the male CAN, made maximum projections. That is to say that with respect to the venues, we have no fields currently, and at the level of work for the competition, instead of 4 fields, which were provided for in the former specifications, and also for each place, almost 5 venues of training, as in the plan of the former specifications. For Cameroon, this is not yet the official point of view. But given that the Department of Sports ensures the technical component of this activity, we have been thinking to be able to refrain from what is on ground. That is to say, for the 7 venues for the competitions, the work should end on time, and for us to set time limits, which is the month of January 2019. We believe that we will not have a problem. Therefore, we are not offended. We believe that it is an additional pressure that will be put behind for Cameroon, and for that, we are within the time limit.
But there are not enough stadiums, and there are also no hotels to receive people.
Those who know Cameroon know that the city of Yaoundé and Douala, as well as Limbe, hosted the last CAN for women. For these 3 cities, we do not have any problem. Now, for the other cities, we have important rehabilitation projects of hotel infrastructure and even construction. Because if we now accept that CAN will be organized in June, July, we still have 21 months. We believe that we can proceed with an upgrade of the hotel infrastructure in all other sites as concerning the MPC Cameroon 2019.
A few days ago, Algeria proposed to replace Cameroon. What is your reaction to this?
You know, Cameroon does not prohibit a country to have an ambition, but we believe that either in CAN 2019, 2021, 2023, it is the editions which have been attributed to countries, and for the moment, we could think of another event. It should be that a country that has received the organization of CAN itself says it is unable to organize before the 3 months before for the competition arrives, a period of 3 months. The country is incapable. Now, to say that we can beg Cameroon, I believe that none of the 2 contingencies for the moment are present before us. We are determined in Cameroon to organize CAN 2019 as the country has in fact done for the female CAN. It seems to me that you have had news that we organize a competition which has never been organized elsewhere. Therefore, we have put the bar very high, and we believe that if we are to attack the 2019, we will be going beyond what was done in 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Longa. That was the head of communications unit of the Cameroonian Ministry of Sports. Though the new summer date of the new CAN has not been determined, this is not the case for CHAN 2018, which is expected in Kenya. We now know all the teams that qualified for the last round of the qualifiers after the second round of games ended last weekend. There are no big surprises really, and so let us take a look at the results table and the new fixtures for this last phase. The final round of playoffs at CHAN 2018 starts on August 11th. El Hilal Obed will now return to the CAF Cup quarterfinals after the Sudanese Football Federation, earlier suspended by FIFA, has now been reinstated by CAF after the sanction was lifted. El Hilal Obed will return to face TP Mazembe, who has just been crowned champions of the DRC. The Lubumbashi Ravens came out tops last Wednesday over their main rival, the AS Vita Club of Kinshasa. Their 1-0 win indeed was enough to give them their 16th national title. And now to the summer transfer market, where a movie-like scenario is unfolding over the Barcelona and Brazilian player Neymar. Is Neymar going to leave Barcelona for Paris Saint-Germain PSG? This is a very difficult question. According to several European and Brazilian media, the Brazilian striker would be close to signing at the club of the French capital. PSG will be willing to part with an estimated 222 million euros for Neymar, a player that Barcelona coach cannot think of losing for now.
Barcelona is not going to do without Neymar, absolutely. We want him to stay with us. We know the influence he has on our game, the atmosphere in the locker room, the dynamics of the group, and we want him to stay with us. That's clear.
That was Ernesto Valverde, FC Barcelona coach. We'll know a little more about this Neymar case in the next few days. Football Planet is over for this week, but stay on Africanews because the news continues right here. You can find the program on our website, www.africanews.com. We also look forward to hearing from you on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you and see you next week.
Merci et à la semaine prochaine.